Hi, I'm Randy Robison. This is Life Today TV. I'm here with Jena Forehand, and Jena has written a lot of books, and the new series is called Living Deeper. And there's this book, and there's a whole lot of other books too. But the bottom line is discipleship and crossing generational lines. And so this is a great topic, especially for you guys that are my age and you've got those late teen kids and you're trying to figure out how to deal with them, right?
Absolutely. They're a whole new bird, aren't they?
Thanks for being here, by the way.
Yeah, so honored. Glad to be here.
Go on. I mean, I got so many questions. I don't know where to start. How do you reach these kids?
Yeah, that's a great question. It came to me because I didn't know myself. I have an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old. They're starting to bring their college friends to my house, you know, to hang out. And they're just so diverse, but they're so awesome and neat. And I was like, why aren't they coming to church? And then I get this statistic that says only 13% of them will darken the doors of a church, and yet they're the largest generation yet. And so, you know, they proved that they could change the world because they were the main reason that Obama got elected, because there's so many of them. So I just thought, well, my goodness, if they came to know Christ, they'd turn the world upside down. So why aren't they coming to church? And so I just started asking them. And I didn't like some of the questions.
Mom, huh?
Yeah, I just went, can I take you for, I'll take you to Starbucks if you'll just tell me.
Kids when you started
Well, no, they were okay with it.
Okay.
I took them, I asked their permission. But anyway, I took their friends and just asked them, why won't you come to church, you know? And many of them just said, y'all pick and choose what part of the Bible you want to believe. I'll pick and choose the part of the Bible I want to believe, and I'll pick and choose what I want to obey, and you can pick and choose what you obey, and that's what you do anyway. And then I heard things like, you know, your parents were, my parents were married, and they were in the church every time the doors were open, now, and they divorced, and it was very painful, so why should I go to church? It doesn't help people. And, you know, I'm sitting back, and I'm just hearing all these things, and at first it offended me. I was like, we're doing the best we can, you know. But reality was they had merit. You know, they had a lot of truth to them. And why aren't we living what the Word says? Why aren't we walking in obedience to it? Why aren't we seeing magnificent things happen in our lives, an exciting purpose for our lives that then transcends into their generation, you know? And one of them made the comment to me, I wish y'all would stop proclaiming the love of God and learn to practice it. And I mean, you want to talk about just, ugh, you know, it was just like, ugh, heartburn, you know, it just didn't taste good. But
I mean, you know, your husband's here tonight, and you guys are practicing it. Right? So, I mean, it's not all our fault,
no, right. And I think that was one of the things. This is the problem, though. I think that we were practicing it in our home and practicing it, you know, privately, but I don't know that we took it as an important initiative, as a purpose, as a mission on our part to help train the younger generation. And I hate to even use that word train. More or less, it's really just investing in the younger generation. It was kind of like we were living our life as best we knew how, walking with God, but were we really taken, as we were going into deeper waters with God, were we really living deeper in front of them, but then were we wanting to take them into those deeper waters too? And
what does that look like?
Well, I really, the Lord gave me the scriptures out of Ezekiel 47, where it says that the Spirit of God took Ezekiel in his dream, in his vision, from ankle deep to knee deep to waist deep to over the head. And I just began to study, what do each one of those look like? And where are we in those? How does a millennial respond as they walk deeper with God? Because they're very different from us. You know, one of the things that really stuck out to me about a millennial is they want to live it instead of just talk about it. I love that about them. You know, they want to get dirty. You know, we're too afraid many times to get muddy and get dirty, you know, but they'll get down, they'll talk to you about some of the things that we would sit in our little Christian little small group and never talk about, you know. They'll just vomit it out on the table, you know. And so, you know,
for better or worse.
Yeah. But it gives you a place. Okay, here's where we are now. Let's see, what does God say about this? What can God take and do something with this? So you know, they bring this level of authenticity and honesty that we were never really allowed, I think, even in the Christian world, to have. So I love that about them. You know, they are very skeptical, so they see fake a mile away and they can't stand it. So they want realness, you know. They just want you to be real and honest. They don't want Dale and I to come and sit down with them and say, we've got it all together, and so you just need to listen to us and we'll tell you what to do, and just do what we do, you know. They want somebody that's going to lock arms with them and go, you know what, we screw up just like you do. We need the grace of God just like you do. You know, and you know what, I'm learning as much from them as they're learning from me. It's very reciprocal because they're farther along in a lot of ways than I am.
So you're saying they. So you've been doing this a while?
Yes.
And it's actually working?
I believe it's working.
Have you seen some people's lives totally change?
Well, what we've began to discover is that they're now on a process. They just kind of came, the ones who already knew Christ, came to know Christ, and they thought that's all there was. But now they're beginning to discover, you mean I can walk with God? I can hear His voice? He has a purpose for my life that's bigger than myself, and I can head towards that, and God's going to equip me and show me and direct me and surround me with people that are going to help me fulfill the purposes for which I was created. And now all of a sudden there's this new life. Jesus said in John 10 about the good shepherd, the thieves come to steal, kill, and destroy, but I've come to give you life and to give it to you abundantly. Well, that's vibrancy, that's animation, that's excitement. You walk into churches, it's like, God's good, and tell your face, because you don't.
Is that the way your church is? I'm going to tell Chris you said that.
Because, many times it just seems like there is no vibrancy anymore in the church. And so, why would they want to be at a place where people aren't excited about what God's doing and they don't see life change, And so when they begin to see, I can really have this, God has a purpose and I can really fulfill that in my life, then they've got something to live for and they're excited about it. And they wake up in the morning going, okay, God, what's today? What's for today? What's happening today? And, I was just thrilled. I got to mentor and come alongside a college girl who is now my daughter-in-law, but during the time she was not. And she said, I felt like the Holy Spirit said to me, don't set your alarm. I'm going to wake you up for every one of your final exams. And she was like, Miss Jena, I was just a nervous wreck. I just thought, God, I don't know that I can trust you like that. And she was like, but God kept saying, I want you to trust me. And she said, was that His voice? And I was like, absolutely. And she said, I went to bed every night, and an hour before I was supposed to be at my test, He woke me up. Wow. And she was so excited to tell me. It was like Peter, I can't help it. I got to tell somebody, Yeah. And she was just so fired up because she recognized, that she could hear God's voice and she could follow it, and God had a plan. And it was just awesome to watch. Yeah. And I'm telling you, you think that you're helping them, but you find out that you're even more blessed when you see them come alive. Very cool. It's just awesome.
Very cool. Let me ask you if you've seen this, because this is something that we dealt with when my daughter came home after her first year of college. And my wife and I had to kind of go through this whole thing, because when I grew up, things like a tattoo or a piercing other than your ear,
yes,
or a second piercing in your ear, those were all external signs of rebellion.
Right.
And whether it was true or not, the view was that there's something screwed up in this kid because they're doing stuff, that is outside the norm, and so, the external was either reflected or was judged to be reflective of the internal. And with this generation of kids, it's like, all the stuff, the sleeves, the piercings everywhere. It's almost like it's, in a sense, meaningless because they don't operate on that same way. Does that make any sense? It's like they're not looking at the external the same way they're looking at the internal. And they seem to be more interested in the internal. It's like the external doesn't matter. Get over that.
Right.
It's the internal that matters.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I believe they bring to the older generation that the older generation can learn. They don't see color. Right. They don't see the external that would, keep you shy away because you're different from me. As a matter of fact, they appreciate the differences and they like the difference and they want to get to know the difference. And we would be more like, let's just go over here and flock with people who look like us and dress like us and act like us, and we don't know you're different, and so we'll just stay away from you. So that's one of those beautiful things I think that diverse generation brings to us, is they love the diversity, they learn from the diversity, and it doesn't, it is not standoffish at all to them.
It doesn't scare them at all. What would you say to somebody who's sitting at home going, it's easy when she says it, but you don't know my situation, or I don't know where to start. Where do you start?
Well, that's a good question, and that's what the whole reason for me even writing the book. I talked to a lot of women that anywhere from 30 years and older, and I just said, I know I'm going old school. This sounds like vintage Jesus, but we talk about the Great Commission, go into the world and make disciples, you know, which make disciples means learners. So we're going to help people become students and learners of God, to learn to walk with God. And this is what they would say to me. I think you're exactly right. I wholeheartedly agree that we should go do that. The problem is I've never been discipled. I don't know how to disciple. Because no one's ever discipled me. And so if you're going to tell me to disciple, you better tell me how, and you better give me something to disciple them with that's going to help them go into these deeper waters you keep talking about. And so that's kind of how the book came along, because, you know, so many people think, well, I can't disciple somebody else. I don't have a seminary degree. I won't have all the answers. Well, they don't want you to have all the answers. What they want you to do is lock arms with them, and if you don't know, go, I don't have a fat clue. But we're going to figure it out together. We're going to ask God to show us, you know, instead of coming and I'll never forget this. I was asked to go speak at a women's retreat for college girls through Chick-fil-A. And there was a counselor there, and she was knitting, and they were talking about what they wanted to, you know, teach these girls. And this lady that's knitting never looked up, and finally she just slammed her stuff down, and she looked up and she goes, what they need to do is sit down and shut up. We've been around longer than them, and they just need to listen to what we have to say.
That's a good approach.
And I was like,
works every time,
that's going to win them over to Jesus. Man, you just try that one, you know? And so I think for some reason that's kind of been an approach that we think we need to take, and it doesn't show them any respect. It doesn't show that they have any intelligence, and they're a smart group of people. I mean, they're Google maniacs, and so they're very smart. And so I'm just learning that it's a reciprocated relationship. I just want to learn from you, and maybe there's something you can learn from me, and let's just walk on this journey of learning how to walk with God together, and let's figure it out as we go. And I'll share with you what God's teaching me, and you can share with me what God's teaching you, and we're just going to do life together. And it's not, I always say it like this, it's not additional. Like, I'm not asking you, now you've got to sit down and have candles and sing Kumbaya and take hours and hours with this one little girl and try to help her because she's messed up. No, it's that you're inviting them to do life with you. Hey, I'm running to the grocery store. Run to the grocery store with me. You know, I'm going to the mall. I need a new pair of shoes. Come with me. You know, and I'm going to feed the homeless. I want you to go with me. I mean, you'll have 12 jump on your bandwagon with that. You know, let's just go with me. And then they begin to watch you. Isn't that what the disciples did with Jesus? Yeah. They just did life with him, and they watched him. Yep. And then he would give them opportunities to do it. And so here you lead and witnessing to somebody while you're feeding the hungry, and then you go, tomorrow you're going to get to do it. You know, what? Yeah, and I'm going to be right here, you know. And then you're, again, giving life to them. And so it's about it's not additional. It's intentional. That's how I say it. It's not that we're asking you to add a lot to more to your plate that you already have, because women my age already feel like I don't have any time to do anything else. There's no margin in my life as it is, and now you're asking me to disciple. It's not additional. It's intentional, that you're intentional with the people you're around.
That's why you're not asking people to live wider. You're asking them to live deeper.
Deeper.
There you go. That was free.
I love that. I love that.
Check out Living Deeper. It'll get you started on discipling some people. Where can people, I know you can get the book anywhere, Amazon, bookstores, blah, blah, blah. Where can they connect with you? What's your website?
Yeah, livingdeeperministries.com. It's a blog spot. It's got all the books are there, and we'd just love to hear from them.
Great.
So
I bet there's some good stories there too, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I imagine you're full of great stories, and great things are happening. Check that out, and check out Jena, and you'll meet her husband Dale when they're on Life Today. That's at lifetoday.org. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was great.